Shri Shri Ras Viharini Ju Vijayate Savaishnavan ko Sadar Sadin Supreme Jai Shri Krishna. Continuing with the readings on day 24 of Shri Hariraj Ki Bade Shiksha Patr, letter number 6, verse number 5. Sri Krishna places worldly souls adrift within the worldly flow. Those who are taken as lawful souls are oriented towards action. Tika 5. In the grace-filled path, the body is divine and the action is service to and remembrance of God. In the worldly path, the body is demonic and the action is worldly behavior and survival techniques. In the path of lawful limitations, the body is divine and the action is Vedic works, fire sacrifices, etc. Worldly souls function according to their whims. Shri Krishna leaves them to dwell in their worldly attitude since their nature and their actions are distinct. Shri Mahaprabhuji has taught in his Pushti Pravaha Maryada Bade, the paths of grace, mundane flow and lawful limitations treatise. According to the Shrutis, the souls, bodies and actions of the three different types of souls are forever different. Know from this that the worldly souls are always deluded and will never enter the devotional path. Those who accept lawful teachings are engaged on a path of stipulated actions because they have appeared from the Lord's voice. The Vedas are his words and embody the Lord's speech. In the Vedas, such rituals such as Shraddha, honouring ancestors, Homa, sacrifice, Yama, restrictions, Niyama, observances, Vrata, fast, Tapa, austerity, and Dana, charity, are described along with their rewards. If an adherent to the path of lawful limitations performs good works, he can go to the heavenly sphere. When he has enjoyed the good fruits of his actions and his merit has thus run out, he then falls again into this material plane. He does not attain to the Lord himself and only recognizes the fruit of his actions to be entry into heaven. When he has thus enjoyed the good fruits of his actions, and his merit has thus run out, he then again falls to this material plane. He does not attain to the Lord himself and only recognizes the fruit of his actions to be entry to heaven. That is why these souls are said to be from the Lord's Vedic desire. Thus are described the worldly and lawful souls. The graceful soul would be described in the next verse. Verse 6. Graceful souls are created from the divine form, and Sri Krishna, who is omniscient, omnipotent and merciful, cherishes them. Tika 6. Grace-filled souls take shelter purely in the divine form of the Lord because they are created just to serve him. Their creation is for this sole purpose and none other. They are free from any kind of anxiety because they have firm faith that the Lord will perfectly accomplish everything by his own wish. They know that the Lord pervades everything and is everywhere and that therefore anxiety is purposeless. They know he has created everything and is most merciful, that he has greatly blessed those who are his devotees and will continue to bless them. In this way they meditate upon him, knowing him to be uniquely powerful and glorious. Brahma, Shiva, Indra and other demigods receive their power from him, and if they want to grant any boon to anyone, they can only do so by his wish and don't have their own authority. This does not apply to Sri Krishna, who is omnipotent. Sri Gosaiji has written in his Vigyapti treatise, doubtless the power to do, not to do, or otherwise appear only in Sri Krishna. Know therefore that Sri Krishna alone can do, not do, or do otherwise, and that a grace-filled soul thus renounces all anxiety about his worldly and scriptural obligations. Indeed, the Lord can and will achieve anything he wishes independently. Note to Tika 6. Examples of these three types of the Lord's actions are found in the pastimes of 1. Uplifting Sudama, 2. Not saving Durvasa, and 3. Controversially liberating Ajamil. Verse 7. If a devoted soul, due to their own nature, is unable to dissipate the undesirable from themselves, then the compassionate Lord will do it for them. Translator's note to verse 7. Out of compassion, he will remove whatever is not good for the devotion, situations, attitudes, and relationships, etc. Situations, attitudes, and relationships. Tika. Sri Krishna, being most compassionate, is the remover of all things unfavourable and certainly does this for his accepted souls. One may question, the Lord has equal vision on all beings. He is the sole support of the universe and nourishes everybody and everything. So why is it stated that he has particular compassion for his accepted devotees? To allay this doubt, it is said, the Lord grants bliss to the whole world, but most especially to devoted souls. Sri Vallabhacharya has written in his Nirodha Lakshan, Nirodha, bound by Sri Hari treatise, the bliss of his grace is even rarer than that of his all-encompassing blissful form. This statement indicates that although Sri Krishna has allotted each and every being a bliss factor, the bliss of his grace is rare. In the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says to Durvasa, I am dependent upon my good devotees who have captured my heart and are very dear to me. This shows that the Lord is in the grip of his true devotees and not in that of the world. The Lord manifests for their sake. Therefore it is natural that this kind and compassionate Lord will certainly allay all misfortune from his own accepted beloved devotees. However, it is the embodied soul's nature to become anxious due to their lack of patience and fortitude in times of even minimal unfavourable circumstances. Only Sri Krishna himself has the power to remove this negative nature and attitude from his devotees. Verse 8. Because the embodied soul does not have the power to fathom what is desirable and what is not, the all-knowing Sri Hari removes the unfavourable through his personal power of grace. Tika 8. The Lord knows what is good for his devotees, for he is all-knowing and powerful enough to remove any disadvantage and does so. Did not Sri Narasimha know the great suffering that Hiranyakashipu imposed upon Prahalad? Of course he knew, but he did not appear immediately in order to put his devotee to the test. After much torture from Hiranyakashipu, when Prahaladji did not budge from his one-pointed devotion, then the Lord appeared to alleviate the problem by slaying Hiranyakashipu. Therefore, in times of struggle and grief, the devotee should never abandon his faith in the Lord and trust that he will shower his grace and remove all sorrows. The embodied soul should recognize their lack of ability to distinguish between good and bad and consider, I am a devotee of the Lord but tend to take shelter elsewhere and worry about worldly and scriptural obligations. Whatever the Lord does to me is for my own good. I have many selfish faults and the Lord will rid me of these. If he punishes me in any circumstance, then it is great grace, and it is only because I am too foolish to realize that I suffer in any way at all. The embodied soul should recognize their lack of ability to distinguish between good and bad and consider, I am a devotee of the Lord but tend to take shelter elsewhere and worry about worldly and scriptural obligations. Whatever the Lord does to me is for my own good. I have many selfish faults, but then the Lord will rid me of these. If he punishes me in any circumstance, then it is great grace, and it is only because I am too foolish to realize this, that I suffer in any way at all. Aaj ke Anand ki Jai. Continuing tomorrow on day 25 with verses 9 and 10 of letter 6. Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna. Shri Swami Nyas Charano Mudeva Vasatame Manase Sarvada. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.